So you have been researching hair transplant clinics and doctors for a while, got rid of the hair mills, the ones trying to book you in ASAP using pressure tactics, and now you might be just left with a few good ones that seem to have a clean shield, but you want to narrow it down even further and end up with the best hair clinic or doctor that is right for you. And this is where many guys can fail because they are unable to see hair transplant as a product of core features and the extras. The core features build the result and how long it will last, while the extras are just nice to have. Like when you are eating a steak, nice table, hot waitress, a free drink on the house. Yeah, nice to have. Just make sure the damn steak is cooked at medium, just the way I like it. So let me show you the spreadsheet I like to utilize with my one-on-one clients to precisely analyze the hair transplant clinic and doctors based on the core features to make the best hair transplant choice. You take this spreadsheet, which will be also linked in the description below, and you can copy paste it into your own document. Core features are responsible for how natural will your hair transplant look, how properly managed and homogenized your donor area will be, and also how dense will your result look like at the end of the 12-month period. Let's start with the core features. Number one, who designs your hairline? The answer should be doctor, all the time. Now, if it's not going to be done by the doctor, from my observations over the years, you will likely end up with a bad design that has been done by a technician. And by bad design in a sense of hairline positioning and shape that will not make sense 5, 10, 15 years and longer. So it's not going to be optimized for the best longevity of your hair transplant. Design that might look even fake, artificial, unnatural, too straight, and sure, sometimes even the doctor messes up. I saw it usually happen in plastic surgery practices where the doctor is not that experienced in hair restoration and his main expertise lies in doing other plastic surgeries. So if the hairline design is being done by the doctor, green light. If it's done by a technician, red light. Number two, who does the incision? Incision should be always done by the doctor, and if it's the case, green light. It's not the case, red light. And also, never, I repeat, never should be incisions done by two people at the same time. Now, this can sometimes happen at bigger clinics, and I just saw how the work is not looking homogeneous. One side looked much better because maybe the technician was doing a better job, it looked denser and more natural, while the other side suffered. And I've seen it from some quite popular clinics in Turkey, one of them being also one place that starts with V and the whole name is less than 5 letters. I'm sure some of you guys will know who I'm talking about. I actually liked them in the past. Some of my friends went there for surgeries 5 years ago. It was a better, higher quality work for what the money gave you back then. But right now, I just find their quality to be too unpredictable. So be careful, guys. I repeat, incisions should be always done by the doctor. Then you have a green light. Number three, who does the extraction? Well, let's take a look at the top doctors in the world, shall we? Dr. Zarev, he extracts himself. Dr. Patella, he does not extract himself. Dr. Munib Ahmad extracts himself. Dr. Juan Couto, 50-50. Sometimes he does the extraction, sometimes he's like semi-involved, as I have already seen also with some of my clients who went there in the past. Look, extraction is very, very important, but I don't think it has to be 100% done by a doctor from start to finish, especially in a case of a huge mega session where 4,000 or 5,000 grafts or more have to be harvested, sometimes in one day, and then the doctor has to do the incisions, the implantation, the placement of the graft has to be done. So it's impossible for the doctor to do all that in one day because over time his quality will suffer because it will likely express on his health, stress levels, and it will all just go downhill from there and the quality will deteriorate. So the teamwork is really important with extraction, and this is based on my informed opinion, having seen 30 to 40 hair transplants at this point being performed right in front of my eyes, where I was able to see the quality of technician-based extraction versus the quality of doctor-based extractions at different places, at different clinics. Let's say you ask this question to your clinic or doctor to qualify him and screen him. If it's yes, you have definitely a green light, more doctor involvement, which is always much better, much higher likelihood of having a successfully managed donor and no overharvesting and homogeneous extraction, no scarring, or I don't want to say no, but minimal scarring. But hey, if the answer is not, sometimes even if the extraction is not done by the doctor, but the clinic does only one patient a day, in that case, the doctor is able to go in and check in the operation room during the extraction multiple times. He may even start extraction in case you might be a more complicated case, and then explains the technician how to go from there the best way. Then let's actually ask the next question, where it's gonna kind of shed more light onto that, and maybe the no will not be such a bad answer. What is the number of patients a day that you do? This is a very easy filtering out question that maybe many of you have already used to see what is a hair mill and what is not. If it's 1 to 3 patients, it should be safe, especially if there is one doctor per patient. So maybe they are doing 2-3 surgeries a day, but they have 2 or 3 doctors giving you the full involvement almost from the start to finish. That's different. Some places can do 5, 10 or more surgeries, especially clinics in Turkey, but only having 1 or 2 doctors at the building to supervise all that thing. In these types of places, I'm not saying they will botch you and over-harvest your donor completely. I'm just saying that naturally the likelihood of that happening is higher in these facilities. And look, if you have a suspicion that your donor area is weak, then you want to make sure that you go to the clinics where there is 1-2 patients a day maximum being handled, and you have almost full doctor involvement. Who implants? Almost in all of the best clinics in the world, assistants or technicians are the people who do the implantation. If it's FUE, these are the people who are placing the grafts in with the forceps. It's the first thing they train up and coming technicians and assistants, because it's easiest to learn. Then they will teach them how to extract, and also it's quite long and it can be tedious to implant those grafts safely. It cannot be done rushed, so there are usually even 2 people that need to do that, sometimes even 3 if it's like a huge mega session. And that is why it's impossible to expect the doctor to do the implantation as well, unless he hates working with other people and he just likes to do it all by himself. And there are doctors like that out there, like Dr. Heitzman. He's a fan of this method where he does everything by himself. Also, Dr. Kesser in Turkey is like that. But the disadvantage is that if you need more grafts, like 3,000-4,000 grafts, you need to stay 3 days, and you count for 1,500 grafts every day. If you go through discomfort every day, having it numbed on the back, the front. So of course, if you have that doctor-based implantation, also if physicians like Dr. Zarev are doing the DHI method, naturally they are doing the placement and kind of incision at the same time. So this would be like a green light. If you have a practice where the implantation is done by the technician, I would still give it green light as long as it's low patient volume, high doctor involvement in other areas, and the technicians are highly experienced in placing grafts with 10+ years experience. So with that being said, now let's talk about the extras. And remember, these are the high-end table, the hot waitress, the free bottle of champagne on the house that make the steak eating experience a little bit better, I guess, maybe different, not always better. This is going to be the same with the extras that come with a hair transplant. Stem cell, new and important extra that I'm seeing, people sending me, quotes to review. I see stem cells being charged at $1,000 to $1,500. You don't need that. It's quite new. There is no clinical evidence that would show either faster regeneration, better survival rate, and more density and whatnot, as some of these clinics claim. It's hard to check the quality and density of these stem cells per cubic centimeter, and there might be just 1% of the claimed stem cell concentration inside, and you have no way to prove it. PRP, if it's done in Turkey, it's probably extra $50, $100 if you won't do it. Again, there have been people getting great survival rate surgeries for the last 20 years, be it FUE or even old FUTs, without PRP, without stem cells, and they were able to get great results. This is something which is definitely not worth it in the US, where a PRP can cost you from like $800, $700 to again $1,500, and stem cells are even more expensive in the States. And I had many clients who were disappointed from either PRPs, stem cells. I have only used PRP 4 times and it didn't really bring anything. It made me shed a lot as well, and with stem cells I haven't experimented yet. Number 3, post-op supplements and treatment kits that are sometimes included. Sometimes they will upsell this to you as well. Special shampoos, special topical serums, biotin supplements and whatnot. I'm not a fan. It was never necessary. Is the hotel included? Yes or no? If it's not, I'm gonna go with a clinic that includes it, even though I might be missing out on this great surgeon who doesn't have that service. Most Turkish clinics do have this service included anyways, but if you go to some places in Europe, the same for the US, like you need to arrange hotels, booking.com, and you maybe spend 10 minutes of your time. Number 5, transfer. Again, most clinics in Turkey do have that or offer that, even if it's not like in their full package. They will give you like maybe extra $50 or $100 you need to pay, and they will help you arrange this. In other countries, you need to call an Uber, a taxi, get on a train and whatnot, and get into the clinic yourself. So if you are currently stuck choosing between different hair clinics and doctors, I have 2 resources for you. Number 1 is the free hair clinic and doctor checklist. You can download it below and see all the other core things that can actually affect your result as well. If you want to extra certainty before you spend thousands on a hair transplant, also check out the clinic analysis report. That was it from me, everybody, and until next time.